There we go. Okay, cool. We're recording?
Yeah.
Lovely.
Hey guys, I'm excited to introduce to you. This will give you guys context of what kind of person he is. On Thursday, I volunteer at this thing called Streetwise Partners, where we help out immigrants and people that don't have as more fortunate of a college background, or people that are younger in their careers. And the question, it's a mentorship program, and the question that they asked us is like, hey, who's the first person that comes to mind that's that go-to person that you can go to for anything, that just knows how to lift you up, and that comes to mind, that like if you're having a bad day, you just call and you know that he's there for you. So immediately I thought of Nick. So this is what I wrote about him. I wrote, and then they asked why. So the second question was why. So I said, Nick has great energy. He's an active listener. He's super passionate, funny dude, inspirational. He loves interviewing people and just sharing people's stories. He's extremely curious, and he goes for his dreams. And the thing I like the most about him is he's so comfortable in his own skin, and how encouraging and insightful. He has a lot of wisdom. Also ambitious, with his autograph podcast, which we'll talk more about today. And he leads by example. And yeah, it just seems like you're always happy and that you're not afraid of failure. So that's who you are to me, and what I see when I listen to your content. So that's the reason why I want to have you. I think I have about like 15,000 followers or so, like throughout social media. So I would think it would be great to share with the world who you are, and yeah, and just all the cool things that you're up to.
Man, I told you this in private over DMs, and I'll say the most sincere words for us in private, but that really means a lot, man. So thank you. I was honored to receive that, and I'm just stoked, man. You're definitely a good friend of mine, and we finally got a chance to meet out there in New York City a few weeks ago when I was there. You gave me a nice little tour of LinkedIn, which was just lovely. I told you before we started recording that that was a huge highlight of my trip, so I appreciate it. And I'm just really excited, man, to be on the show and to interact with you, to interact with your audience, and to mutually make an impact, man. I love what you're up to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And I want to share with the audience, because I think this is a good um, representation of who you are. So I'm going to
Sure,
share with them
sure.
what you wrote on your LinkedIn profile. See,
Oh, my about?
yeah, yeah.
Dude, the trippy thing is that okay, no, I'm gonna let you share it, and then I will then I'll comment on something. But go ahead.
Okay, cool. All right. So you said, in a sentence, I love people. I love making people laugh, inspiring them, making cool ideas real. I like to share all that through films, conversations, writing, speaking, and businesses that mean something. I believe in connection, impact, and growth. Age, sex, and race pale in importance when we wake up to the fact that we all have a good heart and that we are here to give. My hope is to engage myself with the truth so I can help others do the same. And for me, the truth is love.
Yeah, man, dude, thanks for reading that, dude. I didn't. Okay, so if anybody, okay, so I know that a lot of people actually like a big part of your following is from LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have been avidly trying to revamp my LinkedIn, and let me explain to you what that means. I have just horribly used that platform wrong, and let me explain to you what I mean. It's like going on someone's Instagram, and like you know that like they do cool stuff in real life, you know they're the real deal, but like their caption is all out of sort, like their profile picture is like this blurred out half version of their face. Their like photos are horribly cropped, like they don't know how to post, they don't really understand stories. It's like that's how I feel LinkedIn is for me. I'm like this guy who should understand it, but I just don't. And I've reached out to a few friends. I actually have a call today with somebody who I might hire to just like run my LinkedIn. And
Oh,
one of the things that I was going to address was I think my about section sucks. I was just like, dude, I keep on reading people's about section, and I think I just missed the ball completely. I was like, I feel like I wrote like a manifesto. So I don't know. I may change it. Do you think I should change that or what?
I mean, I think, yeah, I think you're right in the sense that it could be a little bit more descriptive. Like, I mean, from reading that, obviously, like people
It's
that are in,
about values and beliefs and stuff.
yeah, I think that part like resonates. But then I think what other people do is just give a little bit more context as to like
Yeah.
how you grew up, your background, just a little bit more like who you are, just like chronologically.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, like, I think it's fine.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Well, thanks for reading it though. I do believe in what's written there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why I connect with you so well, or with everything because I also think I'm also, a people person. Like I love people, and I aspire to be as funny as you. Like I think you're like really quick witted. Like I think you probably like practice a lot where you're like, all right, let me see how I can like be funny. Like you're probably more intentional about your humor, where you're like, all right, I'm gonna make like 20 people laugh today, right? Or like for me, like that's not necessarily a goal. Like for me, it's more like, all right, I want to make people like me, or just like put a smile on their face. I mean, you do that too, to laughter, but you're more like humor related, whereas mine is like maybe more like affection or something like that.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I think that we spoke about this in person. I think that you got your own groove, right?
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the funny comment. And I definitely don't wake up and I'm like, yo, let's make motherfuckers laugh. Like, let's just do that. But
Really? You don't think so?
No, I don't. I never really think about that. I'm just like, if I find something funny, I just like share it. And then
that's what it is.
Like,
yeah.
I honestly think the key to being funny is that if you find something funny, just share it without like any filter between you and the world. Like try not to get in the way of that too much. And then people who like your sense of humor will pick up on it and they'll just, they'll enjoy it. But like, that being said, not everyone is funny. I actually think that you're actually more jokes than you think, but I think it's more so just because you're goofy as hell. Like if you're willing to just let people just like laugh, like with you / at your just like lovable goofiness, like it's just the total turnkey, man. But like I said, everyone's got their own groove. So it's just about finding that groove and then just like living life through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I think what you said is like I think that's why like you're super unfiltered, which I think like you said, like there's certain people. I think you're good at creating like raving fans, right? Some people are like for the masses. Some people are like they kind of like try to be mainstream by like whatever it is, right? I think with social media now it's easier to like kind of like be mainstream, but I think in the beginning, like before you become like a Gary Vee or whatever, you just got to be like super like authentic and super and create like raving fans, and then those 1,000 raving fans will turn into 10,000 raving fans, which eventually would turn to millions, right? But that's interesting. No, I appreciate you sharing.
Thanks, man. Yeah, of course. I'm like I'm like ready to fucking be interviewed. I'm like I'm gonna take everything that you say. No. I'm just kidding, but I'm taking everything you say. I'm like, yo, is this the interview question? All right, let's go down this way. No, I'm just kidding. But by the way, are we allowed to swear on this?
That's fine.
100%.
Yeah, I mean it's just Facebook and Instagram TV and stuff like that. It's not like it's not a big deal.
Is it? But I don't want to blast it in front of your LinkedIn audience. We're gonna put it there and like screw you. So I'm gonna stop swearing. I'm gonna try my best to stop swearing.
All right. It's not a big deal.
All right. Well, whatever. We'll just we'll figure it out as we go. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
As we go.
This is fun. Yeah. So just to give people more context, like Nick has an amazing like podcast called Autographs, and what he does is he interviews people at the top of their game, so entrepreneurs, business owners, like people that have sold multi-million-dollar businesses, and just like interesting people. And I wanted to kind of pick your brain about like what you've gotten from that so far, and so I think the bulk of the conversation will be more geared towards that.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, and just to give people additional context, so how we got connected was through Thomas Wang.
Thomas Success Wang.
Yeah. Oh, he changed his middle name to Success, right?
Yeah, he literally changed his middle name to middle name to Success. I had to laugh when I heard that, but it was awesome though. I love that dude, man. He's changed my life. But continue though.
So I just want to say thank you, Thomas. I don't think I give you enough props for just like I think with Thomas, what I've learned from him, because I actually hired him as my coach in the beginning.
Really?
Like, yeah, I think he was my
I didn't
second
know that.
coach ever. And he really helped me just like take action. Like he was all about just taking action, where for me, like I had a lot of these great ideas, but after him actually started implementing and actually like doing things about it instead of just like, oh, I have these ideas and then one day I'll do it. He was just
Yeah.
like, no, like just do
He's
it.
like, go do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. He's that kind of homie. I love him.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yes, so thanks, Thomas. Appreciate you connecting with us. Oh yeah, and just a brief, like, so, you said that that was a good experience at LinkedIn. What's like one or two takeaways that you've gotten just from visiting the LinkedIn office, would you say?
I take um I take really really odd takeaways from experiences, I think. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think everybody has like their own experience. And it's never like a direct thing. It's always like you'll know what I mean when I share with you the takeaways. The first takeaway, in no particular order, was I was about to swear. How in the world does LinkedIn afford this? Let me explain
Mhm.
though. Let me explain.
Okay.
So I'm like I'm looking around and I'm evaluating things and I'm like, okay, well first of all, like everybody is fed and there's an unlimited quantity of food it seems. And the food court is amazing. And these are not just like hot dog chefs. Like these are really good chefs. Like this is awesome food. And this seems to just function. Second of all, this is a multi-store or multi-level office in Empire State Building in the heart of Manhattan in New York City. I was like, that piece of real estate is far from inexpensive. Third of all,
Yeah.
this isn't even the head office. And I was just like, and I was like, and fourth of all, everybody here is happy. Like this is just a lovely culture. Like they've done something outstandingly well. And it just so happened that the day that I came, you guys were doing some kind of, I forget what the day
Oh yeah,
was,
the culture day. Yeah.
culture day. So no one, everyone was working, but no one seemed to be working. Like it was like no, people were working. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm getting at is that I was stifled as to how LinkedIn can afford this, and I mean that from a beautiful place because I'm like, you know, this started as like just an app, and it's a platform where folks can connect. Right. That's
Right.
basically what like social media is,
Yeah.
and um, it it's a how can they afford this in a beautifully inspiring way that makes me feel, man, like like the 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 sky is the limit, man. When it
Hmm.
comes to ideas and things, like you really never know what's about to pop off. And
Hmm.
I left the building feeling just deeply inspired and moved to know that there's a world of possibility that lives when you follow your heart, when you do things that matter, and when
Hmm.
you treat people well.
Yeah.
LinkedIn didn't have to put forth all of these efforts that it clearly has that were well thought out to do the things that it does and will continue to do for their employees. But I can tell you, rarely have I been inside of an office space that felt so loving. It felt like the whole office was hugging me, which was actually my second takeaway. It was the level of happiness that I felt from the employees. It was real. It was sincere. People feel valued there, and I don't have much experience with corporate America. That LinkedIn experience was one of my first experiences in a really big major office. I've been to Vice and other big headquarters, but I think LinkedIn is doing something outlandishly right. And I left feeling both inspired by the magnitude of what they do and how many people it's reached and how many lives it's touched internally and externally. Um, and also with the thought that people first is the best way to live, and I think the best way to grow a business and to live a life.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, so true. You're so like I feel like you're able to like articulate feelings like really well, and uh,
Thank you.
and I like your transition as well. Like that was such a perfect transition. I was definitely nerding out about that. But anyway,
Wait, transition between like the two things.
yeah, it
Yeah,
was
that
like,
was total accident, but thank you.
all right, cool. No, that's helpful.
What's one
Yeah,
of your favorite parts about working at LinkedIn? And don't
uh,
don't don't
yeah.
be don't BS me. Like, tell me what you actually nerd out about every single time that you walk into work.
Honestly, so I was fortunate enough that they just awarded me like the culture's value award, like for what happened was we just had like a week long training with people that flew in from like Dublin, Munich, Japan, Singapore, Toronto, all over the world,
Wow.
right? And it was really cool, like getting together. So there was 38 of us, and at the end of the week long, we pretty much spent the whole day, early morning to night together, going out with each other and stuff like that. And they actually like awarded me like an award, even though it was just 1 week. And then I won that award. It was like peer voted, so like 37 other people, whoever had the
Wow.
most votes. But like I would say that's a perfect representation of what LinkedIn is about. Because even something as small as just like, acknowledging someone, just that just for that 1 week. But I got like this really cool plaque that I leave in my office or in the office.
Wow.
Like, I don't know, like just those little things, like you said, like they go above and beyond, like acknowledging everyone, but not based on like revenue, because I think that's what every other company does. They acknowledge people based on the culture and the values. So it's less like, hey, how much money did you bring in for us, but more like, hey, how did you contribute to the greater culture of LinkedIn?
Man, that's so beautiful, dude. It sounds like it sounds, to put it simply, like they acknowledge people who are trying.
Hmm.
And that's really nice. That's really
Yeah,
nice.
that's cool.
I think we need more of that. People who are trying to live well, to be better, and to give back, and trying to change their life for the better, to change this place for the better. So
Hmm.
first of all, I know you deserve the award. Congratulations, kudos to them, but also kudos to LinkedIn for having that reach down and being able to recognize you there. So
Thank you. Thank you.
mhm.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, so I'm really curious about like what inspired you to start your own podcast, because I know that you're doing a lot of videos and you create a lot of content, but how'd you come up with the name Autograph, and did it take you a while to like, why, I guess, like how, why did it take you this long to finally release it? Because it seems like you've been releasing content for years and years now.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll start with the story behind autographs. How does that sound?
Yeah.
And then I'll get to how long did it take me to name the show? Because was that a separate question or no?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
cool. Cool. Sounds good. I actually, so the show was an accident. I never wanted to have an interview show. It was never a goal of mine. And I still struggle with this to this day, but I'll explain to you what I mean. So years ago, I was at a conference and Gary Vaynerchuk was speaking. And at the end of his keynote, he decided to famously do his Q&A session. So half an hour of it was talking, and then half an hour of it was just Q&A. And during his Q&A, I got in line, and there was two mics. So there was a mic on this side of the room and on this side of the room. And there was a lot of people. There's about 2,500 people at this conference. So people
Wow.
flooded. They flooded the aisles. And I was a part of the flood. I was part of the flood. So I ended up in like the middle back to part of one of the lines. So the way Gary was answering questions, it was ping pong, right? He would go to this side and then this side and this side and this
Yeah.
side, but he was taking a while with his answers. And I pretty well knew, I was like, I don't think I'm going to have an opportunity to talk to him, but I might as well just stay in line in case. And as time moved forward, I kept on getting closer and closer and closer to the front of the line. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that I might actually get a chance to talk to him. And at this time, you have to understand, man, this is like 2017. I had never talked to anybody like Gary Vee before. I looked up to him for so long. I was totally fanboying, and I was really nervous. So I had three questions that I could ask him. The first one was, hey, Gary, do you want to have dinner tonight? But I knew the question was going to fall flat, because if you've ever watched Gary Vee, it's just facts that the guy's busy as all hell. And if he
Yeah.
did have a dinner time planned, it was not going to be with me. And number two, there's no way he'd agree to that between 2,500 people, because everybody would want to come and join us. So I said,
Right.
okay, I can't ask that. The second question was a more unique way to meet him. And I knew it was ballsy and it required risk, because the way I wanted to ask him was just really different. And and I was like, okay, if I start stuttering and I start tripping over my words when I get to the mic, if I get to the mic, I need a backup question that I can just spew out, just so I don't sound like an idiot. So the third question was just some general marketing question that I probably could have found the answer to on Google. And I remember it was almost my time to speak, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And eventually I got to the mic, and you can't make this shit up. This is actually on video.
Uh-huh.
The moment I arrived at the mic, the conference owner, Giovanni, He was the gentleman running the conference. Great guy. He's from Toronto. And the conference was Archangel, by the way. It's an amazing conference. He steps onto the stage and he grabs a mic and he goes, Gary, I'm so sorry. We're half an hour over our time limit. We can't do any more questions, everybody. That's a wrap for Archangel. And people literally started to get out of their seats. And they made the mistake of leaving my mic hot. And I like dip into it because the girl before me, she was really short. So I like dip into it like this. And I feel like super awkward because this is like not an empowering body posture at all. And I'm just like, can we do one more question? And the thing just echoed because I was the only one talking. And everybody just like turned around and looked at me. They're just like, what? And I was just like, oh my God. And I looked up and I saw my fucking face on the screen. and then Gary, like everyone's trying to find the kid that just said that. So I kind of like do one of these. I raise my hand. And Gary's like, fuck it. One more question. And like the crowd starts going wild. So I'm like, and then Giovanni's just looking at me. He's just like, you son of a bitch. I just called this thing off. So anyways, I'm like, okay, now I have to ask the ballsy question that I wanted to go ask. So I look at him and I'm going to swear here because I'm going to repeat exactly what I said to Gary. Okay. Is that okay? So yeah. I'm just like, Gary, I know you're a competitor, so I'm going to fucking challenge you. And then the whole crowd just like turns around and looks at me like, what's this kid going to do? And I said, look, me and my friends at university, we play this game. It's called odds. It'll take me 10 seconds to explain. It'll take us 5 seconds to play. But if I win, I want a 60-minute meeting with you in New York City, my budget, your schedule. And then he just goes, let me get this straight. And I memorized everything. This is exactly how it went down. You could go watch a video after. He goes, let me get this straight. You and your cockamanian fucking friends from university made some bullshit game that I know no variables of that you want me to play for a 60-minute meeting with me in New York. And I'm like, that's exactly what it is. But I promise you, I have no advantage. The game is a guessing game. I couldn't have an advantage if I wanted to. And he goes, all right, fuck it, we'll play. So I said, okay, here's how it works. In your head right now, Gary, I need you to choose a number between 1 and 10. Don't tell me. Don't say it into the mic. Just choose a number between 1 and 10. He goes, okay, cool, I got it. I'm like, great. I have 1, too. I'm going to count back from 3. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1. Not yet, but when I go 3, 2, 1, you're going to shout out your number between 1 and 10. All right? He goes, wait, okay, cool. So I re-explained it. I said, I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. And then I'm going to shout out my number between 1 and 10, and you're going to shout out yours. If we just so happen to say the same number, I get the meeting. Wow. And then he goes, all right, done. So I'm just like, all right, 3, 2. And everyone is like turned around and looking at me. And I can't believe I'm doing this. And I'm just like 3, 2, 1. And I shout out 7. And he says 9. So we missed each other. And then he's just like, I fucking won. And then the whole crowd just went wild. Everybody got up. And then he's like cheering that he won. And then right after that, it was like it was like out of a movie. They took the mic away from me. There was like a person there just waiting to grab it, so it wouldn't happen again. And everybody just rushed. They just bum rushed the front of the stage because he was taking selfies. And I got myself to the front. And again, this is just fate, man. I think this is destiny. God love the universe, whatever you want to call it. This is it. I remember Gary was about to exit into the back curtain. Like literally he was done with his last selfie. He was moving horizontally across the stage and the curtain was right there. And my friend Mike, he saw me behind him. And Mike had like the very last spot, the last spot that Gary could possibly take a selfie with somebody. Mike was standing in it. And Mike looks at me and he smiles and then he pushes me into a spot and he goes, go talk to him. And I'm like, Mike, no, I can't do it. He goes, go talk to him. So I look at Gary and then him and I take a selfie and then he shakes my hand and I say, Gary, it would really be a dream to come and meet you in New York City, even if it was just 10 minutes. He looks at me, he goes, a dream? I'm like, it'd be a dream, man. And he winks and he goes, you got it. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. You're kidding me. He goes, no, email my assistant. Here's his email. He gives it to me on the spot. He goes, I got to go. And I was the last person Gary spoke to. He exited into the backstage. And that was it. So I emailed Tyler on the spot. It took about 3 months to get a meeting on the board. I flew down to New York and I did a video. This is a really long way to say this was just supposed to be for that's how it all started. So this was just supposed to be for a YouTube video. I wanted to be a YouTuber. And that's exactly what I did. I came home, I did the interview. It was fucking fantastic. And I made a YouTube video with it. And I posted on YouTube and a lot of people liked it, but I didn't really know what was next. I had no intention of starting a show or interviewing more people. I said, okay, cool. Well, this is great. This is an awesome video on my YouTube channel. And then maybe a month later, just a very random but beautiful opportunity came into my life to do interviews for a conference called Haste and Hustle in Toronto, run by a beautiful lady and a friend named Shauna, where Gary Vaynerchuk happened to be speaking at, and same with Casey Neistat. And so I did the interviews for them. And and before I knew it, I had about 6 interviews with just really high level people. And I said, I ought to do something like this. So I decided to start a show. And it was almost like a show was bestowed upon me. But I just said, okay, I might as well release this content to make an impact, because I think it's gonna be a good thing. So I started a podcast, and the original name was the 2mm Show. And I got to episode 7, and then I stopped. I was in school at the time, and I was doing everything myself. I was designing the graphics, editing the audio, doing it all. And I just wasn't having it, because it wasn't my wheelhouse, and I wasn't willing to learn. So I just cut. And then I deleted everything. And then several months later, I said, I got to do this again. So I started it again. And the name of the show was Life Like That. And I again got to episode 7. And then I stopped. I was just like, something about this is not inspiring for me. And I realized that there was just some stuff that I was trying to resolve internally that I just needed to get over before I decided that I was going to move in this direction. So I took about a year and a half to do that. And it was a great year and a half, man. I don't regret anything. And now we're fast forwarding to today, where I said, okay, it's time to really launch a show, get a little bit more serious with this. And that's exactly what I did. So I came up with the name Autographs after months of just agonizing about names. For anyone who's listening, oh my gosh, you should have seen the names that I came up with. But it was just because I wasn't listening to myself. I was trying to ask everybody else what they think the name should be, which is the worst way to pick a name. So anyways, I eventually landed on the name Autographs. I launched, and haven't looked back since. But that's the origin story of the show. It was never, and I don't think I was ever supposed to be an interviewer, but for somehow this is where life brought me, and this is what we're doing now.
Wow.
It's kind of random.
Yeah, there's so many. It kind of reminds me of, did you read that book? What's it called? Like The Third Door?
Third Door by Alex.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah, I can't pronounce it too.
It's
like
incredible.
Manayan or something.
Yeah, I was like, I think I'm like this guy. Like I literally said that to myself a few times when I was reading that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting because you say it's like fate, but not really, right? Because you took the initiative to like grab the mic, where most people would be like, oh, like most people don't break rules, but you're like, why not, right?
Yeah.
Similar to what Alex did, like so it wasn't fate at all. But I mean, I guess in a sense it was, in the sense that.
Well, no, I got to give some credit here. I think that when really beautiful miracles happen in your life, whatever you believe in spiritually, I have no conversation for you there, but my conversation is just whatever you believe in spiritually, you ought to practice it.
Right.
But I believe in God, love, the universe. And I definitely see that as a moment of grace. What happened to me was definitely a moment of grace, but grace doesn't occur without effort. It's a two-sided thing. So I see what you're saying, but I can't excuse the fact that there was something there that just felt like it was more than me at work.
Yeah, I see what you're saying too, because I would say like, with most people, it's like 50%, like it was timing. Like when you listen to all these billionaires, like, and then, NPR, how he built this, it's like, and then he always asks like, I think Guy Raz, right? Yeah. Guy Raz is always like, so do you, was it luck or was it hard work? And then it seems like most people say, like, honestly, it's like 50-50. I would say 50% of it was like the timing, the market, or like, like consumers are finally receptive to this breaking point. And then the other 50% is like, yeah, I hired the right people, I surround myself, so it's like, there's a lot of sleepless nights. So
exactly. You got it, man. Actually, billionaire Bill Gross, he's the most successful entrepreneur of all time in this category. He's had $7 billion exits. So he's a venture capitalist, and he's exited 7 times for over $1 billion, which is insane. And he's got a heart of gold. All he wants to do is make an impact. He believes that business is a chance to be a force for good, and you shouldn't pursue business if you're not willing to do that. So anyways, his number one thing that success in business came down to was timing. He just said, it's just all timing. So I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. No, this is all good stuff. What I learned from what you shared so far is just like, just believing in yourself and just having the balls to actually reach for and just do it, despite like your fears, despite what other people may think. Like you're really good at that. I also feel that you're able to like really articulate like what the mainstream is feeling. Like you're able to like just say it without, because a lot of people hold back. Like even for instance, like when you came to visit LinkedIn, there were questions where you're just like, well, help me explain, you know, you were just really blunt and just straight to it. And then a lot of people filter, people be like, yeah, I don't know if I should ask that, or like, you know, but you just say what's on your mind, which I appreciate, because it's raw, it's like more authentic versus like, okay, this is like the watered down version of what I'm actually thinking.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, I would love to learn more about, it seems like you're pretty involved with Tony Robbins coaching. Can you just share a little bit like how you got into that, and like, you know, like, because it seemed like that started a lot of this like stuff where you like, you know, started learning more about these influencers.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. Do you want the full story, or do you want just like Spark Notes? Tell me.
No, I mean, so you know, when you shared in your autographs like that, so, you know, it's interesting, even though you interviewed all these like, you know, Casey and Gary and, you know, all these like other amazing people, my favorite episodes were actually the one where you were just talking about your story and your life. Cause I just thought
appreciate that.
It's more relatable. Cause like, dude, when these billionaires talk, like, it's like, I can't relate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like whatever. Man. But when you were talking about like how you grew up, and it's kind of similar to how I grew up too, actually. So for me, like that resonated more, you know?
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you. That's a calling for me to create more custom content then. So thank you.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll take you back on a bit of a journey. And it was the year of 2000. No, I'm kidding. But it was before I started my talk show. And after, wait, have I shared this on the podcast yet? Yeah, I have. I don't know if you listened to the story of the worst summer of my life. Did you listen to that one or no?
Yes.
Yeah. So, man, long story short, dude, I had the worst summer of my life in the first year university. It was just a bad summer, man. Like I was working in a factory. It sucked. And I said, the next summer I got to make a difference and I got to make a change. So I decided to go to Asia for a month.
Oh yeah,
and the
Thailand.
Trip was supposed I went to Thailand and Vietnam, and the trip was supposed to be fantastic, but dude, it was terrible. And like, it was terrible because I was just inside all the fucking time in my hostel watching Netflix instead of enjoying the country. And like, I did get to see stuff. Don't think I just stayed inside for an entire month, but it was pretty much as close to like just sad and internally lost as a person could get at that stage in their life. And mind you, I was like 18, 19 at the time, right? So this can't be taken too seriously, but it felt serious for me. And when I got back, I remember saying, okay, well, that didn't work. That didn't change anything. I need to find something that will. And I just made this random promise to myself that I would go to a Tony Robbins event. It was really odd and a very strange promise to make to yourself, but I made it. So I said, I got to keep it because I'm still committed to making this summer better. And I just got back from Thailand. It was supposed to be better and it's not. So I decided to buy a ticket to Dallas where Tony was having his next conference. Didn't have the money for it. I put it all on credit and I went down and I made it work. And that conference changed my life. Tony Robbins is all he's cracked up to be and more. I can tell you that. I have a lot of love for that man and what he's done for me and what he's done for just everybody that I know. And I actually don't work for him. I'm not a coach for him. I just go back and volunteer at his events every now and again.
Oh, volunteer.
So if you go to an event with Tony Robbins, if you participate, you have an opportunity to go volunteer and make a difference in anybody else going through the experience. And it's also a great way to just go see some friends and experience a conference again because you get to go for free. But you do got to work. I mean, it's like a volunteer thing. You got to get stuff done, but it's a ton of fun. And I'm actually going to be going again in December.
Oh, nice. That should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like that really, that really resonates with me. And I think a lot of people in self-development, because I think a lot of us who are just like trying to impact the world and stuff like that, I think, at least for me, and it sounds like for you, like I used to like have to rely on other people to like make me happy, in the sense that I had to be around my friends, or I have to like, you know what I mean? Like I always had to be doing things. Like I always had to be out and about, whether it's like exploring or just new experiences, all about the new.
Yeah.
And I did realize, like, for me that like, oh, I wasn't okay with just being by myself doing nothing. Like it was literally the hardest thing in the world for me to do nothing. And anyone who knows me could say the same. They're like, Davidson, you're always doing something, whether it's like CrossFit or traveling or just, getting friends together. And I realized like, wow, like I was like kind of like running away from just my thoughts. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. So I do know it sounds like similarly, like we all reach like a point where we're just like, all right, let's explore this a little bit deeper. Like why can't I just be by myself?
Yeah. I think, I really relate to that, man. I think, what's the best way to word this? A lot of people, their relationship with themselves is in deep turmoil, and it's in deep turmoil, and you can see it when they're by themselves. They're not happy, they're not comfortable doing that, and they constantly are at reach for a distraction. And the common forms of distraction are social media, their phone, food, drugs, alcohol counts, so does weed. They're all drugs.
Right.
I'm not saying that they're always bad. I'm just saying when they're used for that purpose of distraction, they're not good.
Yeah.
And other people serve as a distraction too. And if you find yourself at the crossroads and at that stage in life where you're looking for that distraction avidly, the solution and the remedy is self-love. But I want to unpack this for a moment. I think that it's deeper than that. I don't think that it's as easy for somebody in that situation, through my experience, to just say, okay, well, screw it. All I got to do is love myself and I'll be okay. While that's true, it's a lot easier said than done.
Right.
And I think the reason for that is because our culture conditions us to believe that our relationship to connection and our relationship to love and our relationship to things that matter need to be driven down in the vehicle of significance and certainty. If you look at a lot of people's behaviors, it echoes those values. It's how can I dress better, look cooler on Instagram, be prettier, be more handsome, thin up and be more cut, or show that my life is really boss. All that stuff is just significance, right? It's you trying to be slightly more important than other people, slightly better than other people. And oftentimes it's unconscious. We don't realize we're doing it. It's not how we're thinking, but it's how we're living. The second vehicle that we use to drive ourselves into connection is certainty. It's control, right? It's like people try to make life a very particular way so that they can feel comfortable with moving forward. And certainty and significance often live in the same vehicle. And it's the culture reinforcing this. So we're often using these vehicles to drive ourselves into connection. But the challenge is that in my experience, those vehicles take you into a form of connection, but it's not the connection that we're looking for. And we know it in our spirits that this is true. It's a kind of connection that we're willing to settle for. It's a kind of connection that satiates us, like eating a shit ton of food and like having that nice feeling that you're full after you ate like 3 burgers from McDonald's, but knowing that it was the wrong stuff to eat. And I think a better vehicle to take yourself into connection and love is one that's a little bit more difficult to drive at first, but the journey that it takes you on is much more beautiful. And I believe that vehicle, with being like I want to say love, but it may deter people and it may confuse others. Like, oh, I got to take love into love. That doesn't really make sense. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think it's the vehicle of finding that connection within yourself. And I believe that the vehicles that take me there are gratitude, sincere gratitude. You and I have done this. Our laughter, our things that excite us. And I think that this vehicle is effective questions, right? If you're able to ask yourself effective questions and answer them with a level of honesty and truth that like you need to really work on, your life will change. So for example, when I ask myself, Nick, what are you grateful for? You know this, but it's not a simple answer. It's not just the surface stuff like, oh, I'm grateful for my dog or my mom or my life.
Let's do the exercise, because I think
want to do a gratitude session.
It's
Sure.
so,
Okay,
like
cool.
when you do it, it's so much more powerful. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, cool. So this is a great example, right? And I want to just show people that this is usually what takes me to that place in myself where I am okay being alone. And it takes me to self-love. And I'll say this last part, and then we'll do the gratitude session. When you get to that place of self-love, it's not like all your problems dissipate, but it's that your relationship with them fundamentally changes. You now realize that you have everything that you need to move forward and to actually solve them. And you feel empowered by the challenge, and you feel less discouraged by it. So yeah, let's do a gratitude session. So what Davidson's talking about is that I started this thing a few years ago called just gratitude sessions, and they just caught fire with friends of mine. And every now and again, when I sense that one can come in, I'll do it. And I've done them with Davidson. So what I'll ask is I'll say to somebody else, I'll say, okay, cool. I'm going to say something I'm grateful for. You're going to say something you're grateful for. We'll do it 3 times. Now, here are the rules. You can't say anything that's not unique, meaning let's just forget about the stuff that everybody's grateful for, like life and health and their wife. Like all that stuff is true, but you don't feel it in that moment all the time. Like I want to challenge you to really choose something unique. And on the third thing that you choose, regarding gratitude, I challenge you to do something small. So to choose something tiny that you're grateful for, something like the wind on your face, or the smile somebody gave you the other day, or the lyric in a song, or a word that you heard, or an idea you thought of. All these things train you to just find beauty in the small things. And it's important to nurture that. So I'll start, and then I'll pass to David, so we'll go back and forth. So something I'm grateful for, and by the way, you got to explain why you're grateful for it too. So something I'm grateful for is, man, I'm grateful for indoor plants. No, seriously, like, and oftentimes these gratitudes end up funny, right? Because you're just like, what? So I'm grateful for indoor plants because, indoors can oftentimes be so stuffy, and it's little things like these selfless little plants that require nothing but just a little bit of sunshine and some water and some love that turn around and they provide so much love for us. Like these things are always producing oxygen and our relationship with them is beautiful. And they produce just like this little bit of oxygen that actually makes the room a lot better in subtle ways, whether we realize it or not. And right now I'm looking at an indoor plant. I'm just like, thank you. Like, that's just a beautiful thing that you're doing for me and for others whenever they're in here. So I'm really grateful for indoor plants and how people just overlook them as decorations, but they truly do make a much more important difference.
Wow. Yeah, man, you're like a modern day like Aristotle, man. It's just I don't know, man. It's hard not to get. Yeah, okay.
I appreciate it. What does that mean? No. Tell me what that means after. We got to focus on gratitude.
Okay. Yeah. I would say so. This is a funny one. I'm grateful for IKEA furniture. It's funny. So my girlfriend and I sometimes will fight like when we like are putting together the things, because just to be real, like she's more handy than I am when it comes to putting together furniture and stuff like that. So she's like, man, like why can't you be more handy? So it's just funny because like we always like laugh, like it's always like, sometimes it'll take us like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours even, like depending how big that furniture is. And then during it we're always like, man, like this is tough, but then afterwards we're always like, wow, like that was pretty awesome, like we were
so
able.
What are you grateful for about it?
I guess like just how funny it is that like we still buy IKEA furniture even though every single time there's a fight.
I love that, dude.
It's hilarious.
I love that, dude. That gives you joy, man. That's beautiful. For a second thing I'm grateful for, man, is I'm here with my dog. I'm at the office and I brought my dog with me. And I'm grateful for his leash. It's not like one of those ones you put around their neck. It's like a harness. And I'm just grateful for it, man. I'm mindful that one day this little guy's not going to be here. I don't know who's going to go first, him or me. I can't decide that. But but what I will say is that one day when and if he's not here and I'm still around, I'm going to look at that leash and I'm going to remember him. And that was his leash. That was what he loved, and that's what he would look at when he would be sitting down. He wanted to go outside, and that's what we would use to keep him safe and just keep him alive and just keep him well while he's here. And I'm just grateful for that leash, man. It's just plastic and metal just put together, but it turns out that plastic and metal it means much more than just plastic and metal to me. So
Hmm.
and fabric. So I'm grateful for that leash.
It's awesome, man. Yeah. You're so good at like connecting the dots. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
Thank you,
very,
man.
very sentimental.
Thank you, brother. Give me something else you're grateful for. What's the second thing you're grateful for?
This is another funny one. So I'm grateful for my MacBook Pro.
Nice.
So LinkedIn was kind enough to like let us choose like, hey, even that's funny because we're technically Microsoft, we're owned by Microsoft, but they let us choose between Microsoft or Mac and then, or PC. And I was just like, oh, I've never actually used the Mac before. I was always like against Macs and I was always like, nah, like, cause I'm always like against like a rebel. I'm always like nonconformist, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, nah, I'm never going to be
Yeah.
like a Mac lover. Cause I was just so like adamant about just like going against what everyone loves.
Yeah.
And then so I was gifted with this MacBook Pro, and now that I use it every day, I'm like, oh my god, like I can't believe I was so against this. Like,
I love that, dude.
but yeah, it's just funny how like we're just so like sometimes we just want to be right, and every time someone was like, oh, like, are you gonna get the new iPhone? I was like, nah, man, like why the hell would I get that? Like I'm not gonna sell out. And here I am
Yeah.
like selling out, but I love it.
I
It's
love it, dude. I love it, man.
yeah, the
I
design, everything about it.
Everything is just Steve Jobs did a number with this brand, and he did a number with this company. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And you know what? You want to know what, man? That's the third thing I'm grateful for. For something small, I'm grateful for is out of all of the names in the world, there's billions of names in the world, literally. I'm grateful for, and not just human names. There's billions, trillions of names just for things and just words. I'm grateful for the words and the names Steve Jobs.
Hmm.
It's like, he'll get brought up in conversation or I'll bring him up. And I know he didn't live a perfect life, but who does?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
He inspires me in a way that very few do. His commitment to building things beautifully is just unrivaled. And, I wish he was still around creating. And I'm just very grateful for him and his spirit and his soul, because that small little name, those two words, they mean a lot to me and they mean a lot to others too. He's changed life forever here on earth. And while he may or may not be remembered, he probably will. What he's done and what he's brought forth here will never be forgotten. He's used consistently as kind of like a marking point to saying, well, if Steve Jobs were here, or the way Steve Jobs would think, he's really graduated himself into this category with the greatest to have ever lived and walked this earth. Seriously, that's how I think of him. This is going to sound controversial, but he's up there as like a modern day level of impact wise, Gandhi and Mother Teresa and Martin Luther King. While in their time they were leading civil rights movements, I think that hundreds of years from now they'll realize that the movement of technology was of equal importance. And Steve Jobs is one of the pioneers in that. And his small name triggers just a beautiful string of memories for me and string of inspiration and thoughts and ideas. So I'm grateful for those two small little words.
Wow. Whew, yeah, you're good, man. You're good. No one's
Thank you.
comparing or anything, but you're good.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Uh,
What's something small you're grateful for, brother?
this is like a weird thing to say, but I'm actually grateful for depression. And the reason,
Interesting.
yeah, and the reason why is how you were talking about the duality of life and like how America or Western cultures like go 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 and Eastern,
Yeah.
and then in Europe and some of the it's more about stillness and just and mastery and stuff. What we were talking
Yep.
about that. If I didn't like have to go to like therapy and go see a therapist, and if I didn't like go through like this stage of where I was just feeling down on myself, like I wouldn't have met people like you and Thomas, and wouldn't be so
Mm.
keen to be into going to all these amazing conferences. So even though like it didn't make sense then, it makes sense now. And
Wow.
yeah, I think it's beautiful like that, because if I didn't know what it's like to feel so down, like I wouldn't know what joy feels like, right?
Mm.
That contrast allows us to experience life on a much deeper level.
That's beautiful, bro. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's a gratitude session, folks. That's what it
Yeah, no,
looks like.
That was good. Well, I think that's a good place to leave people with. I think I'm, if you're open to it, I would love to have you on like every now and then, just because like you just
Absolutely.
wisdom and just
Sure.
we can talk about like a billion different things. I feel like,
100%, man. I'd love to be back on. This was awesome.
yeah, it was a lot of
Yeah.
fun. I think
Yeah.
if it's just one takeaway, like I know I've implemented the gratitude exercise into my practice. Not every day, like I'm not gonna lie, not every day, but sometimes I do think like, I'll look at a building and be like, oh, I appreciate the architects and the engineers that have got, put their like sweat and blood and tears into this masterpiece, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes like it allows me to go a little bit deeper. But yeah, I would love to, gift this tool to everyone else who's listening.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Just everyone listening or watching or tuning in, if you take anything from this, don't take with it, actually take with it what you will, but I mean, if I can offer anybody anything, don't take with it, oh, wow, let me just grab that little technique that Nick used to get connected to Gary and play that game of odds with somebody. You could do that, but like I don't know if it'll work. I think that what underscores my life and what's underwritten a lot of the things that I've done is 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 a set of intentions. Like when I asked Gary, and I looked him in the eye and I said, it'd be a dream to come and interview you. Even if it's for 10 minutes, man, I'll come to New York and do it. He looked at me and he goes, a dream? And I said, a dream. And then he winked and he goes, you got it. And I don't know if this is true, man, but I think it is. I believe you can feel, well, I know this is true. You can feel people's intentions.
Hmm.
You can definitely feel people's intentions when they're with you. You can understand whether or not they're trying to push some agenda. You just know. It's an internal feeling and you just know. And in that moment, my intention was nothing but to just connect and show some love and to just get some advice about life. And he could tell I needed help, and he can tell I also wanted to give. And I really believe that that's what got him to say yes. I don't think that everything in life comes down to the readable and the measurable. I think a lot of it comes down to the irrational and the understanding. 94% of human decisions are based irrationally. Like when we make a decision, 94% of that criteria is just irrational criteria. It's how we feel. It's the culture. It's the forces. It's emotions that we're feeling. And I believe intention has a lot to do with that. And each day, what helps me direct my intention in a place that feels sound and important is gratitude. So I hope that anybody walking away from this talk can at least push forward and say, you know what, I'm going to really give this gratitude thing a shot. And I know it's weird. I know it's quirky, but I have the perfect friend who's weird and quirky enough to go do it. You could even do it on your own. I do it on my own every day. So I hope you take with it what you will, and that it brings you a sense of peace that's new.
Thank you, Nick. And just a couple of summaries, like what I've gotten out of this conversation. Well, there's a lot of things, but like if I was to summarize it to like three main points for me, I would say is well, don't be afraid to travel and like go to Thailand and what you shared about your trip to Europe, because it seems like experiencing like something totally outside your comfort zone like really caused you to have like a lot more introspection. I would promote, if I didn't move to Connecticut into like a random city where I didn't know anyone, like things like that, where I just really was outside my comfort zone, I wouldn't be so much into all this like self-development work. So I would say that's one. Two, well, yeah, I'm not going to reiterate what you said because then it'd be really redundant, but definitely, I think like the big takeaway is like go deeper in terms of like whenever you're giving any answer, right? Don't just give like the cookie cutter, like, oh, it's just like go beyond it and talk about the why of everything. So, oh, the reason why like I'm grateful for, my girlfriend is because like when she cries, like it's beautiful and it like melts my heart. And I feel like she's just so connected to like beautiful things like hummingbirds and trees and things like that. But so I would say like, so go deeper beyond it and just explore a little bit more than just like what you think people want you to say. And then thirdly, I would say, I feel like you're really, really good about like seeing the good in everyone. Like you're always like I've never heard you say anything bad about anyone. Like, or I don't think I've ever heard you gossip about anything, right? I think like you're able to spin any negative, um, any negative energy and still be able to see like the other side of it. Like you're able to kind of like see people for who they really are instead of like who they're showing up at any particular moment. Yeah.
Thank you, man. I'm glad that those things came out of this, and you did an amazing job, dude. Sincerely, from one talk show host to another, you provided a lot of space for me to just be myself and have fun and to say what I'd like to say. So kudos, man.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'm sure we'll talk again. And yeah, thanks, and have fun at that Tony Robbins conference.
I will, man. I'll see you there soon.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay. Take care.
You'll come.
Bye.
Cheers, brother. Adios.